You're watching Times Now with me, Akanksha Khajuria. Let's start with the big breaking update that is coming in, because after days of tensions, missile attacks and fears of a bigger war in the Middle East, there may finally be a breakthrough. US and Iran appear to have reached a deal that could bring war to an end in the region. President Donald Trump has said that the deal with Iran is complete. Iran, too, has been projecting confidence in the last few hours. Iranian officials said that the end of the war and military operation will start very soon. At the center of this agreement is the Strait of Hormuz, one of the world's most important shipping routes for the oil. Trump has said that the strait will reopen on Friday after the agreement is signed. Iranian media is also reporting that and also indicating that shipping through the key waterway will be resuming very soon after the peace agreement is signed between the two countries. That will be on Friday, and the impact was almost immediate. We're learning that oil prices have fallen more than 4% as markets reacted to the possibility of a peace deal and return of the normal shipping through the Gulf region as well. And the deal is now expected to be formally signed in Switzerland on June 19, is what we are learning. Let me go across to our consulting editor, Srinjoy Chaudhary. Good morning, Srinjoy. After days of tensions, missile attacks, bombing, we are witnessing that Donald Trump has said that there may finally be a breakthrough. US President Donald Trump has said that a deal with Iran is complete. Give us more details about this and the contours of the deal between the two countries.
It is really a good morning, first of all. And yes, you're right, the deal has been agreed upon. Now, after tariffs, the word deal is probably the favorite word of the U.S. President, Donald Trump. And Donald Trump and the Iranians have said that, yes, the deal will be signed. The deal will be signed in 5 days, unless, of course, something very unusual happens in the next 5 days. But the whole point is that Strait of Hormuz will be opened. That's the first thing, and that should benefit lots of people all over the world, including people in India, because that means oil supplies will begin or normally all over again. Secondly, the ban, the naval blockade of Iran will be lifted, and that too will benefit people enormously, because Iranian oil will move to different parts of the world, particularly to China, and that was causing trouble as well. Besides that, this issue of the nuclear dust, the 400 plus kilos of enriched uranium. Now that issue is also going to be looked at seriously and will be sorted out over a period of time. Naturally, we are hearing about sanctions. We are hearing about Lebanon. Now that's a crucial factor which involves Israel, which involves the Hezbollah, which involves the people of Lebanon. All of that could get sorted out, because Lebanon is part of the peace agreement, which basically means that the Hezbollah will not attack northern Israel with its drones and rockets. The Israelis will not hit back, including hitting Beirut. You know that just the other day, President Trump actually scolded people for continuing the fighting in Lebanon. Now that will end. So if Lebanon becomes peaceful, if the Strait of Hormuz is opened, if the naval blockade is lifted, if the sanctions are lifted, and if there is going to be a serious decision on those 400 plus kilos of enriched uranium, then there are really no problems on the table.
All right, so it remains to be seen how it pans out in the coming days. Srinjoy, before I let you go, could you also give us clarity on whether this will be a peace deal or a memorandum of understanding? Because there are many reports signaling that this is not a peace deal. This is a temporary MOU that will be signed between the two countries. Give us clarity on that.
Under these circumstances, if you're doing a memorandum of understanding, an MOU, what is it working towards? It is working towards a peace deal. Does it mean that the ceasefire will continue? Yes. Does it mean the Strait of Hormuz will be opened? Yes. Does it mean that the naval blockade will be lifted? Yes. Does it mean that the problems in Lebanon will come to an end? Yes. Then it is something equivalent to a peace deal, if nothing else.
All right.
So that's the point we have to look at. What are the actual effects? What it's called, what it's being officially titled is important. You're right. It is important. But what does it produce? What is the result? And in this case, if the fighting comes to an end, even if it's temporarily, or it is some level of a peace agreement.
All right. So it remains to be seen how it pans out in the coming days. Thank you so much, Ranjoy, for getting us all those details. But despite the positive signals, many questions remain unanswered. What exactly has Iran agreed to? What happens to the nuclear program, and also will sanctions be lifted? And most importantly, will this agreement deliver lasting peace, or is this just a temporary pause in the long-lasting and the long-standing conflict as well? Now, for now, the world is watching very closely. Let me go across to Matthew Wadham, senior journalist based in USA. Thank you so much for connecting with us. Donald Trump has finally announced that the deal with Iran is complete and will be signed in the next 5 days. How significant is this?
Well, I think it's very significant in that Donald Trump has wanted out of this conflict ever since he announced the ceasefire several weeks, or was it months ago, after he started with bombing Tehran and assassinating the supreme leader, Ali Khamenei. A couple of weeks after that, he lost his nerve and decided he didn't want to put boots on the ground and didn't want to invade and insist upon regime change. So he wants out, and this is what he wanted, and it's probably, I don't think it's good in the long term because it's going to leave the treacherous regime in Tehran in power. However, in the short term, it will be good for the world economy because oil will begin to flow freely through the Strait of Hormuz again. 20% of the world's oil supply goes through the Strait of Hormuz, so this will be good for places like India, which countries like India, which import a lot of oil, and it will help drive the price of oil down and of gasoline at the pumping stations in the United States, which will make U.S. voters and consumers, happy. So it's a win in that respect, short term. Long term, Trump is kicking the can down the road in terms of Iran's nuclear ambitions. Yes, Iran has, I guess, in theory, according to reports, agreed not to pursue a nuclear weapon, but the details of that have yet to be worked out. And apparently, according to the memorandum of understanding, there will be more negotiations over a 60-day period to figure out how Iran will be prevented from weaponizing the enriched uranium that it has, how it will be disposed of, will it be diluted on Iranian territory, or will it be seized and given to another party to hang on to for safekeeping? So a lot of details have yet to be worked out. Also, there's this talk of $300 billion being invested in Iran, and I don't think that that's going to be a grant, like the Marshall Plan in World War II to European countries that the United States did after, defeating the, Nazi Germany in 1945 and the years after. But, it may be that Trump and the allied countries are going to steer new investments to Iran, which, I guess is good for the regime in Iran and helps bolster it, but is empowering, an evil totalitarian homicidal regime to continue terrorizing its citizens. So, there's both good and bad in this deal, and a lot of the details have yet to be worked out. I'm sure Iran still has some tricks up its sleeve and is going to throw a few curveballs, using a lot of cliches tonight. Sorry about that. And is going to drag this out in other ways because that's what they're good at. They're good at delaying and stalling in order to get the best deal possible. So the war, at least for the time being, appears to be open. The Strait of Hormuz will be reopened. The war is over. I mean, the strait will be reopened, and short term, that's very good for economies around the world.
Absolutely, but we still have 5 more days to see what really happens, whether the Strait of Hormuz will open, because Donald Trump and Iran, they have categorically mentioned that the key waterway will only be reopened on Friday when the deal will be signed between the two countries, and that is when the naval blockade will also be removed. Stay on with us. We have another breaking update coming in. Let's have a look at what Iran has been saying. Iran has said that it has finalized an MOU with the United States to end the ongoing war, marking a major diplomatic breakthrough. According to Tehran, military operations and the naval blockade on Iran will end immediately, while further negotiations on a permanent agreement will depend on U.S. fulfilling the key commitments, including the release of the frozen Iranian assets. Iran has also stated that the nuclear program will not be part of the current talks, with any future discussions tied to U.S.'s compliance with the agreement. So that is very important what we're learning so far. Let me go back to our consulting editor, Srinjoy Chaudhary, on this. Srinjoy, this is very important because Iran has stated that as far as nuclear program is concerned, it will not be part of the current talks. It will be taken up in the second round of talks. Take us through what the U.S. administration has said on this, because that remained the key friction point when it comes to the nuclear program.
That's exactly what is right. The nuclear issue is particularly important. And what the Americans continue to say is that Iran must never acquire a nuclear weapon. Now, if that is so, then clearly both sides have to agree to that. Now, if both sides agree to that, then things can really work out. Because if of all the problems that appear to be the most difficult to solve, the nuclear issue is clearly one of the most difficult, because Iran has 460 kilograms of enriched uranium, enriched at 60%. And Iran is in a position to probably produce a nuclear weapon if it continues its work in the future. Now, this is something the Americans are not very happy about, and lots of people are not happy about. In any case, the Iranians have signed the NPT. So if they've signed the NPT, they have legally said that they cannot or will not produce a nuclear weapon. Nevertheless, all these are points of view, all these are agreements, all these are promises. At the end of the day, it's about what you do and what you don't do. And the Iranians are now saying that, yes, they are making it very clear that they are not very keen on a nuclear weapon. But as far as they are concerned, this is something that will be finalized after negotiations.
All right, Srinjoy, stay on with us. In fact, let me also go across to Mr. Matthew on this. As you heard, Iran has said that nuclear negotiations will not be part of the current talks. Then the big question is, then what has Donald Trump agreed to? Because this was the key friction point. In almost every other social media post, Donald Trump was mentioning about how he does not want Iran to have nukes. U.S. will go inside Iran and will take the nuclear dust out as well. But at this point in time, Iran has stated that nuclear program will not be part of the discussion. It will come up during the next round of the talks.
Right. Well, that's the whole game there, right? So what happens now is unclear. Is Iran just going to suddenly give up its enriched uranium that it can use to make a nuclear bomb? I doubt that Iran will make it easy, and I'm sure that they're going to screw the United States around at every opportunity and make it difficult. But in the meantime, Donald Trump gets a major public relations victory in terms of reopening the Strait of Hormuz to normal shipping traffic. And the economies of the world benefit as a result. But yes, the nuclear issue is not resolved, and I think that Trump is, speaking, as I've said before, he's speaking aspirationally when he says that the Iranians have agreed or will agree to, to hand over the nuclear dust, as he calls it, and it's not at all clear to me that they will, and they're going to put up resistance because they never do anything without a fight, and they're always deceitful and scheming to give themselves an advantage in whatever talks that they participate in. So this is not over, but it could be the beginning of the end of the conflict between the United States and Iran. And so people who are opposed to the war will probably be delighted by that fact.
All right, so that was a key friction point when it comes to the nuclear negotiation. Iran has said that it will not be taken up during the current talks. It will be taken up later. So that would mean that the back channel talks will continue, and meanwhile, the war will end. But that is something that remains to be seen. Next 5 days are going to be very important. Thanks so much, Mr. Vadam, for bringing that into perspective. With this, a very short break. More news and updates on the other side.